What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Taking a look here, USA Today, kind of a final look at the Nate Davis article. Admittedly, not a Madden gamer, not a Madden fan, but this to me was the most interesting conversation he opened up. We're going to go right past this thing that says Browns quarterbacks be as well. It's the Browns quarterbacks. Kind of tells you all you need to know. And one thing you can't say about EA and Madden, they go in and they adapt, they change, they modify ratings. So some of these things are going to change. But I really thought these last two very interesting. Internal team rankings, he talks about locker room banter. Andrew Luck, 87, the third-ranked Colt behind Jabal Sheard, who's been a godsend on our defensive line, and T.Y. Hilton, who, yes, had a down year, but in my opinion, bounced back and showed he's still the deep threat that we all know he could be. In a prior video, he kind of mentions here, and I talked about it before, how injuries don't seem to factor into overall, which is why he's more complex that Deshaun Watson is the 8th best Texan. And he talks about, Watt, Hopkins, Clowney, you want to put him behind those guys, but the secondary and Lamar Miller, it just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. And even if you disagree with that, a really interesting point here with Kirk Cousins. The Vikings gave him $84 million. He is the 13th best Viking, which means he's really not even in the top half of their best players. And that, I think, more than anything spoke to me in this article about the way things get skewed. He talks about kickers and punters. Justin Tucker, I guess you can make a case for any player really being the best in the league, but I think a lot of people agree Justin Tucker is, if not the best, one of the most consistent kickers. Consistency usually comes down to best. To me, Johnny Hekker, listen, I could not say enough about Johnny Hekker. I think Johnny Hekker is the best punter in the league ever. If you don't believe me, Google Johnny Hekker plus Bill Belichick and listen to what he had to say about him, and it wasn't just a front. He mentions that they get an 86 rating. And here's where public perception, and I understand that popularity of a player should never impact ratings, but we both know it does. Cover athletes get special treatment. From Ray Lewis, where he was a little bit more jacked up in the game, to Brady to Gronkowski, it's known. And I understand Carson Wentz is not on the cover of Madden, but Carson Wentz is a very well-respected football player, not just for what he brings to a team, but for what he overcame and the type of person he is. And that is the reason he was voted. He brings back the top 100 list here, the third player in the league. Now, I don't expect that to translate to him again in Madden. But he even mentions here, and you'd have to almost be crazy to not know, if Carson Wentz has even a modest successful year and stays healthy, he's going to be right back in the running as one of the best players in the league. So for him to look at his rating and say 86, he's on the same level as the best kicker and the best punter, and then you look at it in the perception of he's overall, from the player standpoint, the third best player in the league. It's a different perspective than we're used to hearing, and I hate to say it, but it makes a lot of sense. I don't think that we take the top 100 list and we generate who the best Madden players are, but I think that when we look at that list and compare it to where Madden ratings fall, a lot of things don't make sense in and of themselves. And I know a lot of it is subjective. I know a lot of players will look at their team and say, my players are better, their ratings are low, or I don't like this team, their ratings are too high. It's all very opinionated and subjective to a degree, but at some point you have to look at what's actually going on in the league and try to have some semblance to connecting the dots with these ratings. And I think if there's anything I learned from this article, that really just doesn't happen. Love to know your guys' opinions on this. I appreciate you checking it out. I'll be back in the week with more commentary.